Hello everyone, in today's video I'll be showing you how to make a death screen GUI. So it looks something like this. If you die, it'll count down from whatever time you set, and there'll be a random death message. So this is customizable. You can do as many as you want. You could put millions. It might crash your studio because there's so much code in one script, but it would work. So let me show you guys how to do it and we'll get right into it. Okay, let's get started. So I'm gonna go to players right here in Explorer. It's a little bigger. And what you're going to do is you're going to set the respawn time to wherever you want the countdown to be. So I'm going to set this to, let's say, 10 seconds for now. And that will be good. So when we die, it'll be a 10-second delay when we respawn. So next, I'm going to create a GUI. So I'm going to go to test, device, turn this on. I'm going to set this to HD 1080 and make sure it's fit to window. And it should look like this, where it's like smaller screen. And this is just to make sure UI is scaled correctly. So I'm going to name this death screen. I'm going to set reset on spawn to false or true. Doesn't really matter right now, but I'll recommend keeping this on. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to model it out. So I kind of want there to be a dark background. So I'm going to set the size of this to 2 by 2 by 2 by 2. So it covers up the whole screen. And I'm just going to set this to black or dark gray. And then I'm just going to change the background transparency until I like it. So around right there. And I also kind of want a blur, so I'm going to add a blur effect into lighting. And I'm going to change this to how much I like. Maybe that much. And then I'm just going to disable it for now. So next what I'm going to do is I'm going to put another frame inside here. And this will be the thing that goes across your screen like a little bar. I'm going to change the scale on the X to 1 and the offset to 0. And then I can play around with the Y's scale. Oh, delete that. With the Y's scale until I like it. 0.4. Oh, that's really big. Okay. Let's do 0.15. There we go. So I'm going to make sure it's positioned right in the middle. So I think that's right there. And then I'm just going to set the background transparency to gray. And then make it so it's a little darker. There we go. We have a little bar right here. Okay. So inside this bar, I'm going to put another text label. I'm going to put this right here. And I'm going to scale it out on all sides. I'm going to go to like right there. Make it a little bigger. And I'm going to set the background transparency to 1. Text scale to true. And I'm just going to put it to you died or whatever text you want to have for now. This will be the base text, not the text that changes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this to Gotham for me. You can play around in this, pause the video until you find something that you like. I like this. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to name this title. I'm going to put it right about there. Then I'm going to press Ctrl D to copy and paste it. I'm going to move this one down here. And I'm just going to scale it until it fits, until it starts getting smaller. And I'm just going to scale it to around that size. Drag it down right here. I'm going to name this time left. I'm going to set this just for now at 10 seconds. We'll actually do it like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep scaling it down. So this will be like time left until they can respawn. I'm going to put it like right there. I think that's centered. This might, oh, okay, that's good. Make sure everything's centered. And finally, copy and paste the title with Ctrl D. I'm going to name this one death message. I'm going to move it down to the bottom, scale it down, and this will be the death message. We can set this to something for now. D, because we haven't started the game yet. I'm going to make this around that big, and I'm going to make the text transparency to like, actually it doesn't work since we have a background. I'm just going to make it small enough so it doesn't overcrowd the screen. I'm going to make sure for this one that it goes all the way to the edges so we can have long death messages. Actually, it's weird. Not in the middle, but I'm going to set the size on the X. Oh, there we go. That's probably why. Oh, okay. So you see that it's not fitting. That's because we set this frame right here to be 2 by 2 by 2. So if you actually just want to set this to 1 by 1 by 1 like that, it will mess stuff up. So if you already did this and this doesn't fit, then just scale it to however you want. Move it to the correct position. I'm gonna scale this down. I should have done one by one. So if you guys figure that out and you really want to make sure it's perfect, then you can go and change that. I also do have offset on this, so that's kind of bad on my part. So I'm just gonna scale this down a little bit better. And if you have a plugin like Autoscale Pro or Lite, you can just go to the unit conversion menu and you can set scale on all of them. So I'm just gonna do that. And there we go. Finally, I'm gonna move up the depth message just a little bit. And now we can start coding. So what I'm gonna do is, if you want this, you can see if I change the background transparency, kind of goes like that. So I kind of want it to like go black and then fade in. So what I'm gonna do is inside here, I'm gonna create a new frame. What happened? Why did it change its transparency? There you go. And this time I'm gonna set it to 1 by 1 by 1 by 1. And I'm gonna make it black. Okay, I'm gonna name this black screen. Actually, that'll kind of ruin the projection of us just dying. I'm actually delete that. So inside here now, I'm gonna make a new local script and call it main. What I'm gonna do is set this frame right here, the main frame, visible to false. Okay. So I'm gonna do local possible messages and equals to a table. So this will be all the death messages. I could have named it that, but I'll actually name it that. Death messages. So these will be all the death messages like, too bad, too sad. Maybe we can do try harder next time. I think that's enough for now. You guys can add a ton of these if you want, however much you want. How did that happen? Okay. So what I'm going to do now is create another variable for the frame. Local frame to equal to script.parent.frame. I'm going to open up so I can see it better. I'm going to get the blur and lighting. And then I'm also going to get the time left. And then I'm also going to get the death message. So, since we won't be changing... Let me make it visible. Since we won't be changing this "you died" right here, we can just keep that and we don't need a variable for that. So also, I'm just going to create a new local variable called respawn time. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this to whatever I set this respawn time inside players to. So I set this to 10, so I'll set this to 10 too. Okay, so I think that's enough messages. And what we're going to do now is we're going to get the player by doing local player equal to game.players.localPlayer. And then what we're going to do is get the character by doing local character equal to player.character or player.character added :wait. And then finally you want to get the humanoid by doing character wait for child humanoid. The humanoid has an event called .died. You can do humanoid.died. This is an autocomplete, so that's kind of annoying. Connect function. So this will fire when the player dies, or at least this local player. So what you want to do is we want to make the frame visible. So frame.visible equals true. Now you want to set the death message. So we're going to do death message, not death messages. You might want to change these if you will get confused. Just make sure it's the one with an E and not an S. Make sure it's the one that goes to your frame with the death message. And we're going to set the text equal to, what we're going to do now is death messages. And then inside these right here, these are square brackets. At the end, we're going to do math.random 1 through #death messages. So basically, this will get a random number 1 through the amount of death messages there are in the table. So then if it gets like 3, then 3 is equal to the third one in the table, which would be this one. So that'll make it random messages. And then if you want, you can try putting quotes around it. I think that's by doing... We can actually... Here. Oh yeah. So we need to do these like that. I think that should work. There we go. So we have like a little quote around it. And then we're going to set the blur .enabled equals true. And finally, you can start a countdown. So I'm going to do time left .text is equal to respawn time. Actually, no, we got to make sure it looks good. Remember, we had this time left dot dot. This is because we had those little brackets around it. So now we want to repeat 10 times. So I'm going to do for I equals respawn time 0 minus 1 do time left dot text. I'm just going to copy and paste this right here. But instead of time left, it's going to be set to I, like that. This is the iteration. And then we're going to do task.wait 1. So first, when it spawns, it'll say 10. 1 second later, it'll say 9. Another second later, it'll say 8. Until it hits 0. And the reason we do this right here is because we want to reset it every time the player dies. So there we go. So actually, I'm going to change this to reset on spawn equals to false. We should have that off. So now we can test it. I think that's everything. Yep. And, oh yeah. So when they respawn, we want to get rid of the frame. So what we're going to do is this will go to here when this finishes, and we're trying to set frame.visible equals to false. Blur.visible enabled equals false. So then you actually have to make sure you have reset on spawn to false for this. So now I'm going to hit play. We can test it. So if I die, this pops up. We're going to have to fix the scaling. But we actually got an error. 2 is not a valid member. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go here. I'm actually going to put this down here. Okay, let me make sure I did everything correct. So, death messages. Oh, okay. So right here, I messed this up. This has to have an S. Death messages, not death message. Gotta make sure you're referencing the table. That's very important. Okay, now we'll try it. So I'm gonna reset. And it says 10. And it's not counting. Okay, attempt to concatenate instance with string. Okay, another thing we messed up. This is a actual like object, not a variable. So we're gonna set this to respawn time. Okay, so if we reset now, it says 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, and we have our message right here, which is random, and we'll wait. And there we go. I respawn. So what we can actually do, that wasn't perfectly perfect. So if you really want to make it perfect. Okay, so while editing this video, I actually realized I messed up something. So I'm gonna go into Studio real quick and show you guys. One thing I messed up saying in the video is you need to set this to 1, not 0. I had it set to 1 in the video, as you will see, but you need to make sure that you set this to 1 or else it'll be delayed by 1 second. And you also have to make sure, I'll ramble on a little bit about reset on spawn. You have to make sure this is set to true. So you have to make sure this is set to true and make sure you set this to 1. Those are a little bit of bugs I made, and you can also set respawn time to gain that player's respawn time. So just make sure you fix those, and let's get back into the video. I'm just gonna auto scale this. Plug in. You can add a UI aspect ratio constraint like I did here. And we could test it now. So I'm just gonna make sure visible is set to false. Thanks for watching. If you have any errors or bugs, just put them in the comments and I'll help you fix them. So if you guys enjoyed, then make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Okay, bye.